Hey, what's up, guys? We are going to keep the train rolling, so to speak, on the book read of Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. What we're going to conquer in this video is the pillar of "Is it up to you?" as a question, posed as a question, is it up to you? So if this is the first time you're tuning in, we've covered the first part of perception, and as the first section of 3 in the book. I'm not going to cover all of that here. Go ahead and find those previous episodes. But for those that have been reading along, we had just wrapped up Alter Your Perspective, and now we are on to Is It Up to You? So, again, we're talking about pillars that we can reference when facing obstacles. And really, this is more of a theoretical pillar, and more of kind of along the lines of the recognizing of your power essence. In life, what is truly in our control? Right? Taking some time to write that down and contemplate it. What do we have direct control and influence over? This concept is what we will be covering. The most harmful dragon we can chase is the one that makes us think we can change things that simply are not ours to change. One more time with that one. The most harmful dragon we can chase is the one that makes us think we can change things that simply are not ours to change. Tough one for me to personally comprehend because I try to control as much as I can control. However, I get humbled and reminded quite regularly that there are many, many things that I can't control, and it's frustrating. But that's just the reality of what we're trying to battle here. But to go into a little bit of further, more thorough detail, we were born into this world outside of our control and raised in environments outside of our control until we are legally free at 18. That playing field, so to speak, is all out of our control, right? Who birthed you, who created you, where you grew up, all of these things until you're legally 18 and can, move forward on your own accord. The rules and conditions specifically are out of your control. To argue, to complain, or worse, give up. These are choices that more often than not do nothing to get us across the finish line. So, to combine kind of the initial posing of question and this here, in essence, is to really understand that the circumstances that we were brought into this world are out of our control, but knowing that not only mentally we can be in control, but furthermore, at a certain point, we have to regain our power back to say, you know what, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with. There's a lot of things that maybe piss me off. There's a lot of things that are frustrating about maybe how I grew up, who I grew up, where I grew up with. Yet at some point, we can, in fact, regain all of that and kind of switch gears, or change directions, if you will, on the path that we can take. And really trying to define if we can or not is a big deal. So just to continue the momentum a little bit, when it comes to perception, the difference between things in our control and power and the things that aren't creates the great people and the great companies versus everybody else. And so, there again, that definition and that seeking of clarity is really what we're talking about here. If this is a concept that you've never really thought about, I'd encourage you to really think and maybe even write a list out of things that are in your control, how you respond, how you reach out to people, how you communicate, the skills that you learned, physically moving if you have to move. There are many elements to this, and honestly, taking full responsibility for everything in your story and also full responsibility to create a new story can be very powerful when overcoming these obstacles. Maybe you're somebody that has failed in the past at certain things, but face a similar, obstacle. Having the ability to change the narrative, if you will, to I have failed before, but I'm not going to fail this time. Any type of that kind of communication or language that you're using is very, very good to at least give you the initial momentum, maybe, and carry you through when battling the obstacle. Focusing exclusively on what is in our power magnifies and enhances our power. The other side reads, but every ounce of energy directed to things that we can't control is a waste and can be self-destructed. So I would say more so from just a mental energy perspective, this is where, being introduced to the first part of the chapter, I think is one thing, right? Really kind of defining what is and isn't in your control. But the second layer to that is not only figuring out what is and what isn't, but then really trying to focus on things that are in your control. So then that way you can completely use all your energy towards that. This is just such a good daily, weekly, monthly, yearly reminder, because we get so caught up in many things that are outside of our control. And yet the great ones focus on what is in their control, and they really, really magnify it. So to conclude this pillar, there is a example in the book on Tommy John. And if you don't know Tommy John, he was a professional baseball player. And as I get into this, you will understand how he became famous. And for those baseball fans that are watching this, you may or may not already know. So Tommy John, one of baseball's most savvy and durable pitchers, played 26 seasons in the majors. That is way over the average. Um, Basically, all he was ever looked for was yes, no matter how slight or tentative the provisional or the chance. If there was a chance, he was ready to take it and make good use of it. And this is referring to his mentality, really only looking for yes, and really only looking for the ability to get on the mound so he can come out and dominate. Maybe said another way, if effort would affect the outcome, he would die on the field before he would let the chance go to waste. The first time came in the middle of the 1974 season when Tommy John blew out his arm, permanently damaging the unional collateral ligament in his pitching elbow. Up until this point in baseball and sports medicine, when a pitcher blew out his arm, that was it. That's what they called the dead arm injury, game over. John wouldn't accept that. Was there anything that they could do to get him a shot back on the mound? And it turns out there was a one percenter, if you will. The doctor suggested an experimental surgery in which they would try to replace this ligament with a tendon from the other arm. What are the chances of me coming back after the surgery? 1 in 100, and without it, no chance. So here he comes again. Would he rather die or get this arm fixed? And he moved forward. That procedure is now famously known as Tommy John surgery. So the courage of one man to see an obstacle, and many before him had faced this obstacle and failed, and yet he had this mentality of understanding what is in his control and thinking outside the box, and that is what earned him not only another kind of end of his career, many years of pitching, but also being one of the most notorious pitchers of all time due to this recovery. And so essentially went on and just really utilized that mindset throughout the end of his career to basically be one of the great influencers of the game, and for other athletes just to know what is, again, in their control and what's not, and really putting forth all their effort into that. The things that Tommy John could change when he had a chance, got 100% of his effort he could muster. He used to tell coaches that he would die on the field before quitting, which is kind of crazy, but also awesome at the same time. This is how they focus their efforts. It's a lot easier to fight addiction when you aren't also fighting the fact that you were born and that your parents were monsters, or that you had lost everything. Stuff is done, delivered, 0 to 100 chances you can change it. So what if you focus on what you can change? That is where the difference can be made. That last little piece there, not to throw people off, there was a reference to AA in here as well too, and how people can have a group of people that would help rather than just themselves. But really just kind of reiterating that when we seek out that 1% chance, even if it's only 1%, we need to take it 100%. And then going to round out this portion. Sorry for the little bit of bouncing around here on this note. So I know I referred to the list earlier, and using the inspiration of Mr. Tommy John, some things that are up to us: emotions, judgment, creativity, attitude, perspective, desires, decision, and recognizing the separation, channeling our energy. So take this as you will. I am loving that you're reading along with me up into this point. Let's keep reading, and we'll tune into the next video.